My name is Riley Morgan, and the night my family erased me from their life, I was still wearing my graduation gown. The zipper was stuck halfway because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Mascara from the ceremony photo ops was drying under my eyes. There were still bobby pins in my hair from when my mother said, "You need to look softer for the donors." And I was standing in our living room surrounded by crystal glasses and men in tailored suits when my father said loud enough for the room to hear, "She is no longer our problem." He didn't even look at me when he said it. He raised his glass instead. People laughed the polite kind of laugh, the kind rich people use when something cruel just happened, and they don't want to admit they saw it. My sister Avery leaned against the staircase rail, smiling like she was watching theater. "Be honest, Riley," she said, tilting her head the way she does for photographers. "Who's going to hire you to build anything? You can't even sell a dress." I remember opening my mouth and nothing coming out. Not anger, not a defense, nothing. Just that ringing sound in my head like a fire alarm. My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. She adjusted Avery's bracelet instead. That hurt more than what my father said. Here's the part they will never say in interviews. I wasn't kicked out because I was wild or because I embarrassed them at school or because I was difficult as a teenager. I was kicked out because I told them I wasn't going to be decoration for the Morgan brand. I told them I was going into software. I told them I wanted to build something that was mine. They called it disobedience. I call it the last moment they were ever going to control my name. And now 11 years later, they've invited me back. The living room smelled of champagne and lilac when my father told me to leave. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You've embarrassed this family enough," he said, sharp enough to cut through the noise. Guests froze mid-sip. Every eye turned toward me. I stared at the mirrored wall cap, slipping lipstick-cracked diploma trembling in my hand. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but no words came. Avery stood beside him, perfect in satin, whispering, "Maybe she'll finally understand boundaries." My mother avoided my gaze, pretending to arrange gift boxes. Even the security guard, someone who'd known me since childhood, waited for my father's nod. That's when I knew it wasn't a warning. It was exile. Outside, the air smelled of wet grass and endings. I dragged my suitcase to the curb, disbelief turning to numbness. My phone buzzed a message from Avery. "You wanted independence. Congratulations. I didn't go to a friend's house. I didn't have one. I took the cheapest train south to San Jose, watching my reflection blur in the dark window, anger, humiliation, and something sharper clarity. They didn't believe I could survive without them. That was their first mistake. Their second was thinking I'd ever want back in. At the station, I made myself a quiet promise I'd build something they couldn't claim. I didn't know what yet, just that it had to exist. The next weeks were pure survival cheap hostels, instant noodles, job boards. I sold my jewelry for a used laptop, taught myself to code through free tutorials, failed constantly, but failure was mine. When exhaustion hit, I'd picture that night, Avery's smirk, my father's toast, and feel something electric beneath the shame. Not revenge, just motion. The start of a climb I refused to stop halfway. By summer's end, I no longer dreamed of going home. I dreamed of the day they'd see my name and realize they'd disowned the wrong daughter. My first night in San Jose, I slept on a couch that smelled of mildew and old takeout. The landlord didn't ask questions, which meant he didn't fix anything. But it was a roof, and that mattered more than pride. The next morning, I sat in a public library watching free coding tutorials on an old desktop. My high school diploma was still damp in my bag, useless and wrinkled. Those months blurred together, mornings at the library, evenings waiting tables near the highway. I saved enough for a second-hand laptop that overheated constantly. Still, it was mine. That's when I met Lena Park, sarcastic, brilliant, just as broke. We met fighting over the last outlet in a community college lab. "If we're both dying of student debt, we might as well share," she said. That's how friendship began, one shared power strip at a time. We built everything together, hackathons. We lost gigs that paid in coffee. She had the confidence I didn't. "They threw you away, Riley," she'd say. "Good. Now you owe them nothing." By 25, I landed a real job at a tiny startup in Oakland. The office was all wires and chaos, but it felt like oxygen. I learned not just code, but how businesses moved, how data told stories. Lena joined later. Together, we became the backbone behind other people's success. When the startup collapsed, we built something better, a platform to make messy data make sense. Simple. Useful. We called it mosaic because every broken piece could still fit if arranged right. Investors didn't appear overnight. We pitched anyone who'd listen, slept on the office floor, used boxes as desks. One client became 5 became 50, and mosaic began to hum. Years passed. My voice steadied. My hair got shorter. One morning, Lena burst in grinning. We did it 5 million in annual revenue. I laughed until I cried, not for the money, but because I'd done it without the Morgans. That night, I watched city lights smear across my window and realized I wasn't angry anymore. The hate had cooled into steel. A week later, an envelope arrived, embossed seal elegant font. The Morgans' 30th anniversary gala. At the bottom, in silver script, we'd be honored to celebrate with family. I stared at that word family and smiled. They wanted a show. I'd give them one. The envelope sat on my desk for 3 days before I opened it. Heavy paper wax seal, embossed logo every inch, radiating the kind of wealth that forgets how earning works. Inside Morgan Atelier, 30th anniversary gala. And in cursive at the bottom, we'd be honored to celebrate with family. Family. They'd disowned me in front of 50 guests. Now they wanted me for photos. Lena eyed the invite warily. You're not actually going, right? I'm considering reminding them I exist, I said. She smirked. Just don't burn down the place. No promises. By the night of the gala, Mosaic had doubled in staff fresh off its biggest investment round. I wasn't 19 anymore. I had a company, a voice, a reason to walk in proud. But as I zipped my dress and looked in the mirror, a small tremor still lingered, the ghost of old shame. The San Francisco Grand Ballroom gleamed like a shrine to vanity. Chandeliers blazed, champagne fizzed, the Morgan logo hung in gold above the stage, perfect and soulless. Heads turned as I entered. They didn't know me, but they knew the name. Then I saw her Avery. My sister. Center of attention radiant in silk, smiling that practiced perfect smile. When our eyes met, hers flickered just once. Well, she said coolly, raising her glass, if it isn't the prodigal coder. Still stealing the spotlight, I see, I replied evenly. It made her blink. Her husband Ethan stepped up, extending a hand. Have we met? Not officially, I said. But you might have heard of my company, Mosaic. Recognition crossed his face. You're that Mosaic. Avery's tone tightened. She freelanced in tech for a while. Always had creative hobbies. Something like that, I said. Across the room, my parents lingered near the stage. My father still looked untouchable, my mother anxious. She came forward first. Riley, you look different. I grew up, I said. Her smile faltered. Let's keep tonight peaceful. That depends who starts the fight. The silence said enough. I moved deeper into the crowd. Perfume cameras, hollow laughter. I wasn't here to belong. I was here to remind them what they'd erased and show what replaced it. Then I saw the banner introducing Morgan Digital, a new era of data innovation. My stomach turned cold. They hadn't just borrowed my name, they'd stolen my work. When the lights dimmed and the music faded, the host's voice filled the ballroom. Please welcome Avery Morgan, Director of Marketing and the visionary behind Morgan Digital. Applause thundered as Avery stepped on stage, radiant in a silver gown. Behind her glowed the words, Morgan Digital, where data meets design. Then I saw at the interface on the screen. My layout, my colors, Mosaic stolen and rebranded. My pulse spiked. Avery spoke about innovation and integration, the same words she'd once mocked me for. Then the host smiled. We'd love to hear a few words from Avery's sister Riley. Avery froze. That's not necessary, she said too late. I was already walking toward the stage. Good evening, I said, taking the mic. It's been a while since I've been part of a Morgan event, 11 years, I think. A murmur rippled through the crowd. My father's jaw clenched. My mother twisted her clutch. I was 19 the last time I stood here, I continued. That night my family told me I was a disappointment for choosing code over couture. I pointed at the projection behind me. This interface, this is my architecture, my code. You just changed the colors. The room fell silent. Cameras flashed. My father stood. Riley, this isn't the time or place. It never was, I said evenly. Not when you blacklisted me. Not when you told people I was unstable. The crowd gasped. Ethan Avery's husband rose from the bar. Is that true, Mr. Morgan? Avery's mask cracked. Ethan, don't she's twisting things. He frowned. It looks like theft, Avery. She laughed brittle. She's jealous. I don't need attention, I said. I have results. I turned to the audience. Check the timestamps on the Mosaic patent 2 years before Morgan Digital. Reporters typed furiously. The whispers turned into noise. Avery's face went pale. I handed back the mic. Thank you for inviting me back into the family. It's been enlightening. When I stepped off stage, the applause wasn't for her anymore. It wasn't polite, it was electric. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole, even as I knew the storm was just beginning. The week that followed was chaos disguised as justice. Morgan Atelier's stock crashed. Headlines screamed, deception, plagiarism, toxic dynasty. I didn't lift a finger, the truth handled itself. But I wasn't celebrating, I was rebuilding. At Mosaic's office, sunlight spilled across empty coffee cups and tangled cords. Lena perched on my desk, scrolling through her phone. CNN called it the downfall of a dynasty, she said. You're the woman who broke the Morgans. I smiled faintly. No, they broke themselves. I just stopped pretending to sweep up the pieces. So what now, press tour, tell all? We keep building, I said. I already won. The rest is paperwork. That evening I stood by the window overlooking the bay. The city moved lights, trucks, soft hums. For the first time, I wasn't chasing anything, or anyone. Then my phone buzzed. Your mother isn't well. She misses you. From my father. Maybe he meant it. Maybe she did. But forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a language they never learned. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. Across town, Avery was losing everything, her job, her husband, her image. I felt no triumph, only inevitability. You can't fake integrity forever. Back at my desk, Lena had left 2 mugs and a note. Drink water. Don't forget to eat. I laughed softly, genuinely. The Mosaic homepage glowed on my laptop, making sense of the mess. That line was my life. I poured out my cold coffee and looked out at the lights. Somewhere out there, another girl was being told she wasn't enough. Maybe she'd see my story. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, I hoped she'd keep going. Because this was survival. Not revenge, not headlines, peace. I opened my father's message thread typed, "Tell Mom I wish her well," then deleted it. Some things are better left unsent, not out of anger, but closure. In the glass reflection, I saw a woman who'd lost everything once and built something better. A woman who no longer needed to be chosen. My name is Riley Morgan, and I'm finally free. Silence feels different after years of fighting to be heard. It's not empty. It's full of everything you've already said. Weeks passed. No grand victory. No cinematic ending. Just quiet mornings. Coffee work. Long walks to an office that smelled like printer ink and burnt toast. Ordinary, but mine. The world kept talking about the Morgan scandal. Some called me brave, others bitter. None of it mattered. Maybe healing means no longer defending yourself against other people's stories. Mosaic kept growing. We hired 5 new developers, all women. I made one rule: no one would ever have to justify their ambition. This would be the place I'd needed when I was 19. One evening I stayed late, city lights flickering like small fires. I thought of my parents, not with anger, just acknowledgement. They made choices. So did I. A message appeared from an unknown number. I saw the interview. You spoke well. I hope you're happy. No name, but I knew it was my mother. I typed back, I am, and sent it. Maybe that's forgiveness, not reunion, but accepting that some bridges burn so you can finally see the light. Walking home, I passed a boutique window. A Morgan Atelier dress glowed under perfect lighting, ivory flawless. Once that name defined me. Now it was just fabric. Back home, an email waited, feature request, Mosaic for education. Schools wanted to use our system to teach young girls data literacy. Tears caught me off guard. Maybe this was legacy turning rejection into resource. I closed my laptop and sat by the window, listening to the city breathe. Somewhere a girl was crying over the word failure. I wanted her to know it didn't last forever. If she asked what survival feels like, I'd tell her it's quiet. It's steady. It's realizing no one else gets to write your story anymore. My name is Riley Morgan. They erased me once. Now I write everything myself.